So I don't really know about you guys, but tonight the whole Cena retirement thing really hit me like a ton of bricks because we've known that Cena was gonna retire and has been on his way out for a while now out of WWE. But I think tonight being the first episode of Raw that he wasn't on, or there wasn't the possibility of seeing Cena, it's really like just hit me hard. Like, damn, this guy is actually gone. And I actually believe him that this is the final time that you're ever going to see him. Was last, Saturday night's main event 2 nights ago. And a good reason of that has to do with Gunther, the ring general, the career killer, Gunther. I've sat on this as far as the outcome of 48 hours removed from when we received it. At the time, I was very vocal as far as not really liking this outcome as far as it goes against everything Cena stood for. And even 48 hours later, I'm still kind of iffy on the outcome. But 48 hours later, at the very least, I get why they wanted to do this, and as far as like what could come of it, which is essentially Gunther and this heat that he's garnered now. A good portion of that he has obviously gone to Triple H, but regardless, at the very least, what we can do now as far as the future goes, because Cena, that's it, right? There's no more Cena. As far as what we can do for the future now is put all this heat on Gunther. And tonight he came out here and simply stated the fact that John Cena tapped out like a bitch. Right? Those are his words. Right, those are his words. He came out here, he had a victory lap. Everybody treated him almost as if he just, fucking ended John Cena. And, he got kicked out by Adam Pearce. Adam Pearce told him to go home, that he wasn't welcomed. There's a backstage segment as well with AJ Styles and Gunther. Again, kind of subtly teasing you as far as the possible retirement match as well for AJ Styles. I don't know whether or not that's going to be at WrestleMania. They could do that at WrestleMania. They could do that, down the road after WrestleMania, maybe SummerSlam. Who knows? But, now I think it's kind of obvious that that's probably going to be the final match as well for AJ Styles, because they've kind of, dubbed Gunther as the career killer. Again, I simply hope at this point, right? I simply hope at this point in time that Triple H, creative, they have some sort of plan with Gunther. Now that he's, essentially tapped out the biggest babyface, that he's disposed of the biggest babyface in company history and retired him. Now this is where you actually have to tell a story, because as far as booking moments, Triple H, he's, one of the best, right, at booking moments. But anybody could book a moment. A 5-year-old could book a moment. What's real important is how you follow up with the story, right? Just taking, for example, 2025 for Triple H hasn't been the best year, creatively, storyline wise, it just hasn't been. So I'm kind of still iffy as far as, how they're going to handle Gunther going forward 2026. He has to be a top heel in that company. There's no excuses at this point, because it's either that or you essentially just wasted Cena's match for nothing. I don't want to look back 6 months from now and, it'd be like a WrestlePalooza where you're just like, why did this happen? Why was this necessary? I want to look back in 6 months and be like, you know what? At the very least, they did something with this, and I can accept that. We also had the masked man reveal here tonight being Austin Theory. Austin Theory had a fucking buzz cut, looked like goddamn Justin Timberlake there. I don't know if anybody else caught that or not. But, Austin Theory resulted to be the masked man. He came out here, he helped Logan Paul against his match with Rey Mysterio. We kind of figured, Austin Theory was going to be the masked man, because if you remember, there was reports of Austin Theory being involved in the War Games match, but then again, when Seth got injured, that kind of, went a different direction. So the masked man storyline was implemented to kind of give Austin something to do. As far as the reveal and everything, I don't know if this is kind of, jumping the gun or anything, but I feel like with the reveal happening this quickly, because I figured it would have happened on that first Raw episode of 2026, and I figured, Braun was going to get the win because of the reveal of the masked man. I kind of feel now that maybe because this happened prior to that, maybe Braun is actually going to lose on January 5th, and that could lead Braun to win the Rumble. Again, this is kind of me just speculating as far as the Masked Man like revelation goes, because it makes no sense to reveal him and then have him help out Braun with the identity already kind of revealed. Like, it would make sense for him to help out Braun and then reveal his identity. So that kind of leads me to believe that we might actually get CM Punk defeat Braun Breaker. CM Punk here cut one of the better promos that I've seen from Punk within probably a year. He called out Braun Breaker. He called out his family, Rick and Scott Steiner. Now, this is the Punk that you want to have against, a major opponent like a Braun Breaker. Like, I remember a few weeks back when we had Jay against Punk. It really seemed like Punk was just kind of, giving you the basic Punk promo. So at the very least, this felt actually like one of the better Punk promos. So I commend him for that. We also had Stephanie Vaquer in a match here against Raquel Rodriguez for the World Heavyweight Championship. This was, interrupted by Nikki Bella. Nikki Bella attacked both women, Stephanie and Raquel. And, I don't really know what they're building towards here. Maybe a triple threat. I'm not really sure. This whole women's scenario, women's division here with Vaquer and Nikki Bella, like, I just kind of feel sorry for this, because I don't think anybody really gives a shit, and it really shouldn't be like that, because Stephanie, she came out a few weeks ago. She said how she's more than just the devil's kiss. But as far as how she's been presented here on Raw, really just kind of seems like she is all just the devil's kiss. And they kind of need to give her some, fleshed out opponents like a Rhea, like an Io. Like, where's all the opponents for Stephanie Vaquer that we desperately need? And as far as that goes, that was basically the major happenings here on Monday Night Raw. Again, outside of the Gunther promo, outside of the Masked Man, there really wasn't much here that you would probably go back and watch. Especially, I think this crowd, either they saw SmackDown pre-taped here because they were doing double taping, so I don't know whether that has anything to do with it. Maybe they were just tired up to this point. Post your comments down below. Let me know what you thought of tonight's episode of Raw. And until next time, I will see all of you on the next one.